The world does not reward the honest, it rewards the strategic. And while most people waste their lives trying to be understood, respected, or loved by toxic individuals, you are about to learn something far more valuable. How to control them without them ever knowing you are doing it. Toxic people are not your enemies. They are your teachers. They reveal the game that everyone plays but few are willing to admit exists. Stay until the end, because the 7th rule will show you how to make any manipulator serve your purpose without ever realizing they have been played. Let me tell you something that no one else will say out loud. The reason toxic people continue to destroy your peace is not because they are powerful. It is because you have not yet learned to see them for what they truly are: tools. Every interaction in life is a transaction of power. Someone is taking it and someone is giving it away. Most people give it away through reaction, through defense, through the desperate need to prove they are good, right, or worthy. But you are not most people. You are here because you understand that survival in this world requires more than kindness. It requires cunning. Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries ago. He knew that the world belongs to those who see it clearly, not as it should be, but as it truly is. A battlefield of interests, egos, and hidden agendas. The toxic person in your life, whether it is a co-worker, a family member, or a so-called friend, is simply playing the game at a level you have not yet mastered. But that ends today. Because you are about to learn the 7 ruthless power rules that will turn you from a target into a tactician. And once you understand these rules, you will never be manipulated again. Let us begin with the first rule. Never reveal your true emotions to someone who has already shown they will use them against you. This is not about being cold. It is about being intelligent. Toxic people are emotional vampires. They feed on your reactions because your emotions give them information, leverage, and control. When you show anger, they know they have touched a nerve. When you show sadness, they know you are vulnerable. When you show fear, they know exactly where to strike next. Your face, your tone, your body language, all of it is data. And in the hands of a manipulator, data is a weapon. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn to be a great pretender and dissembler. In other words, you must learn to lie with your presence. Not through words necessarily, but through the mask you wear. When a toxic person insults you, your instinct is to defend yourself. That instinct will destroy you, because defense is admission. It tells them their attack landed. Instead, you will do something far more unsettling. You will smile. Not a warm smile, a calm one, the kind of smile that says, "I know something you do not," and you will say nothing of substance. You will give them a neutral phrase, "Interesting perspective. I will think about that. That is good to know." Then you will move on as if their words carried no weight at all. What happens next is where the power shift begins. The toxic person will feel confused. They expected a reaction and got none. They will try again, harder this time. They will push, probe, provoke, and you will remain still, unreachable, unreadable. This is not passivity. This is control. You are teaching them that you are no longer a reliable source of emotional supply. And when they realize they cannot feed off you, they will either move on to easier prey or they will begin to fear you. Fear is respect in its rawest form. People fear what they cannot predict. And you, by refusing to show your hand, become unpredictable. Now let me give you a practical example. Imagine a coworker who constantly undermines you in meetings. They make subtle comments designed to make you look incompetent. Most people would either confront them emotionally or silently seethe with resentment. Both responses give the manipulator power. Instead, you will do this. The next time they make a comment, you will pause. Look at them with mild curiosity. Then say something like, "That is an interesting observation," and immediately pivot the conversation back to the agenda. You have just done 3 things. You acknowledge them without validating them. You refused to engage emotionally, and you redirected the room's attention, making their comments seem irrelevant. Over time, they will stop because you have become a wall they cannot climb. This brings us to the second rule. Study them like a scientist studies a virus. Toxic people operate on patterns. They repeat the same tactics because those tactics have worked before. Your job is to become a silent observer of those patterns. Do not engage. Document, watch how they manipulate others. Notice when they use guilt. Notice when they play the victim. Notice when they charm and when they attack. Every manipulator has a rhythm. Once you see the rhythm, you can predict their moves. And once you can predict their moves, you control the outcome. Machiavelli said that the wise man does at once what the fool does finally. In other words, preparation is everything. Most people react to manipulation after it happens. You will prepare for it before it begins. You will know their triggers, their insecurities, their methods, and you will use that knowledge not to attack but to maneuver. Let me be very clear, this is not about revenge. Revenge is emotional and emotion is weakness. This is about strategy. You are gathering intelligence so that when the time comes, you can move with precision. Here is how you do it. Start keeping a mental or even physical record of their behavior. What do they say when they want something from you? What tone do they use when they are trying to guilt you? What stories do they tell to gain sympathy? Write it down if you must. Patterns will emerge, and those patterns will show you their playbook. Once you have their playbook, they become predictable, and predictable people are controllable people. You will begin to see their manipulation coming from a mile away. You will watch them set the trap, and you will simply step around it. They will wonder why their tactics no longer work on you, but you will never tell them, because the moment they know you see through them, they will change tactics. Keep them ignorant of your awareness. That ignorance is your advantage. The third rule is perhaps the most ruthless. Use their ego as a leash. Every toxic person is driven by ego. It is the engine of their behavior. They need to feel superior, important, in control. That need is their greatest weakness. And you are going to exploit it, not with confrontation, with flattery, with subtle strokes to their vanity that make them feel powerful while you quietly take control. Machiavelli understood that people are more easily deceived when their pride is involved. A man who believes he is clever will rarely suspect he is being played, so you will make the toxic person believe they are winning. You will let them think they are smarter, more influential, more respected, and while they bask in that illusion, you will be positioning yourself 3 steps ahead. Here is a precise tactic. Let us say you have a manipulative manager who takes credit for your work. Confronting them directly will only make you a target. Instead, you will begin to frame your ideas in a way that makes them think the ideas were theirs. In conversations, you will say things like, "I was thinking about what you mentioned last week, and it made me realize we could approach this differently." You are planting seeds in their mind. When they present your idea as their own, you do not protest. You smile inwardly because you have just done something far more valuable than receiving credit. You have made them dependent on you. They will start coming to you for more ideas, more solutions. And the more they depend on you, the more power you actually hold. They think they are using you, but you are the one pulling the strings. This tactic works in personal relationships too. If you have a toxic family member who constantly needs to be the center of attention, stop competing for that attention. Instead, give it to them freely but strategically. Compliment them in front of others. Make them feel seen. They will lower their guard. And when they lower their guard, they stop seeing you as a threat. You become invisible. And invisibility in a room full of egos is the ultimate position of power. You can move freely, observe clearly, and act decisively, without anyone watching you. Now we come to the 4th rule. Control the narrative before they do. Toxic people are master storytellers. They twist events, rewrite history, and paint themselves as victims while making you the villain. If you allow them to control the story, you lose. So you must become the author of the narrative before they pick up the pen. This does not mean lying. It means framing. It means presenting facts in a way that protects your position and exposes their inconsistencies. Machiavelli wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. Appearance is reality in the court of public opinion, so you will craft your appearance carefully. Here is how this works in practice. Let us say a toxic colleague has been spreading rumors about you. Most people would either ignore it, hoping it goes away, or confront the person emotionally. Both are mistakes. Instead, you will address the issue publicly but calmly. In a meeting or group setting, you will say something like, "I have heard there may be some confusion about my role in the recent project. I want to clarify the facts so everyone is on the same page." Then you will lay out the facts clearly, without emotion, without accusation. You are not attacking the rumor spreader. You are simply correcting the record. This does 2 things. It establishes you as the credible source of truth, and it forces the manipulator to either stay silent or reveal themselves by objecting. When you control the narrative, you control perception, and perception is power. People will believe the story that is told most clearly and most confidently, so you will speak with clarity and confidence. You will document your work. You will copy others on important emails. You will create a paper trail that cannot be rewritten. This is not paranoia, this is preparation. Because when the toxic person tries to distort reality, you will have evidence that speaks louder than their lies. The fifth rule is one that most people are too afraid to use. Withdraw your presence and watch them unravel. Toxic people need an audience. They need someone to manipulate, someone to react, someone to control. When you remove yourself from their stage, they lose their power. But you must do this strategically, not in anger, not with drama. You simply become unavailable. You stop responding immediately to their messages. You stop attending events where they dominate. You stop offering explanations for your choices. You become a ghost in their world, and ghosts cannot be controlled. Machiavelli knew that absence can be a form of power. When you are always available, you are taken for granted. When you withdraw, people begin to wonder. They begin to question. And in that questioning, they reveal their dependence on you. The toxic person will notice your absence. At first, they will try to pull you back in. They will guilt you. They will accuse you of being distant, cold, or selfish. Do not defend yourself. Do not explain. Simply remain unavailable. If they push, you will respond with polite vagueness. I have been very busy. I will reach out when I can, nothing more. What you are doing is creating scarcity, and scarcity creates value. When you are no longer easy to reach, you are no longer easy to manipulate. They will either move on, which is a victory for you, or they will begin to treat you with more respect, which is also a victory. Either way, you win. This tactic is especially powerful in personal relationships. If you have a friend who only contacts you when they need something, start being unavailable. Watch how quickly they either disappear or start treating you like someone whose time actually matters. You are not being petty. You are being strategic. You are teaching people how to value you by controlling your accessibility. The sixth rule is surgical. Isolate their allies without them noticing. Toxic people rarely operate alone. They build networks of enablers, people who support their narrative, defend their behavior, and amplify their influence. If you want to neutralize a toxic person, you do not attack them directly. You quietly dismantle their support system. You do this by becoming valuable to their allies, by offering those people something the toxic person cannot. Respect, collaboration, or simply a more pleasant interaction. Machiavelli advised that it is better to be feared than loved, but he also knew that alliances are built on mutual benefit. So you will offer benefit to the people around the toxic individual, not to betray them dramatically, but to shift their loyalty subtly. Here is a concrete example that illustrates this principle in action. Suppose you find yourself working alongside a toxic coworker who has somehow managed to secure the support and backing of a few influential people within your organization. These might be senior managers, department heads, or well-connected colleagues whose opinions carry significant weight in the workplace hierarchy. The toxic person has cultivated these relationships, perhaps through manipulation, flattery, or simply by getting to these influencers first. Now they operate with a sense of immunity, knowing they have powerful people in their corner who will defend them or overlook their problematic behavior. Instead of taking the obvious route of complaining about the toxic person, gossiping about their behavior, or trying to expose them directly to management, you will take a completely different approach. You will begin the strategic work of building genuine, authentic relationships with those influencers independently, separate from any connection to the toxic individual. This is not about manipulation in the negative sense, but about demonstrating your true value and professionalism. You will seek out these influential people naturally in the course of your work. You will ask for their input on projects, showing genuine interest in their expertise and perspective. You will compliment their work sincerely when they do something noteworthy, not with empty flattery, but with specific, meaningful recognition. You will find opportunities to collaborate with them. You will become someone they genuinely enjoy working with, someone who makes their job easier, someone who brings solutions rather than problems. Over time, through consistent positive interactions, they will begin to see the stark contrast between your professionalism, reliability, and positive energy, and the toxic person's chaos, drama, and destructive patterns. The beauty of this approach is that you are not telling them the toxic person is bad. You are not bad-mouthing anyone. You are not trying to convince them of anything through words. Instead, you are showing them through your actions and your character that you are better, more competent, more trustworthy, and more valuable to the organization. And people, especially intelligent and perceptive people, naturally gravitate toward competence, stability, and calm. They are drawn to those who make their lives easier rather than more complicated. As these allies and influencers begin to shift their perception gradually over weeks and months, something powerful happens. The toxic person loses their protection, their shield, their safety net. They become increasingly isolated without fully understanding why their support system is crumbling. Their influence weakens progressively. The people who once defended them start to question that loyalty. They begin to see through the facade. And you, without ever firing a shot, without ever launching a direct attack, without ever making yourself vulnerable to accusations of workplace politics or unprofessionalism, have systematically dismantled their entire power base from the foundation up. This is the very essence of Machiavellian strategy applied with precision and patience. You do not confront power directly, which would only trigger defensive reactions and potentially make you look like the aggressor. Instead, you erode it quietly, strategically, patiently, consistently, until it collapses under its own weight, until the toxic person's behavior becomes impossible to ignore or defend. This tactic requires tremendous patience because results are not immediate. It requires subtlety and emotional intelligence because every interaction must appear natural and genuine. But it is devastatingly effective when executed properly, because by the time the toxic person realizes what has happened, by the time they notice that their former allies are no longer returning their calls or supporting their positions, it is far too late to reverse course. Their allies are no longer loyal to them. The relationships they thought were solid have dissolved, and you have become the new center of influence, the person those leaders trust and turn to, all without ever appearing to have campaigned for that position. Now we arrive at the seventh and most ruthless rule, the one that requires the highest level of strategic thinking and emotional control. Make them believe they won, then use their victory against them. This is the ultimate move, the master stroke, the one that separates amateurs from masters, beginners from experts, those who react emotionally from those who think 10 moves ahead. When a toxic person believes they have defeated you, when they think they have won a battle against you, something predictable and exploitable happens to their psychology. They become careless and overconfident. They stop watching you as carefully because they have mentally categorized you as defeated, as no longer a threat. They celebrate their dominance, often publicly and excessively, and in that celebration, in that moment of triumphant carelessness, they expose themselves, their methods, their true character, and their vulnerabilities. So you will strategically give them a small victory, something that appears significant to them, but is actually meaningless in the larger scheme of things. You will deliberately concede a point that does not matter to your ultimate objectives. You will let them take credit for something trivial, something that makes them feel important but does not affect your actual position or goals. You will appear to retreat, to back down, to accept defeat in a minor skirmish. And while they are busy gloating, celebrating, telling others about how they put you in your place, feeling superior and secure in their dominance, you will be quietly, invisibly positioning yourself for the real win, the victory that actually matters, the move that will change everything in your favor while they are distracted by their hollow triumph. Machiavelli wrote that the greatest trick of war is to make your enemy believe they have already won, because a victorious enemy grows complacent. They lower their defenses, they stop strategizing, and that is when you strike, not with violence, not with emotion, but with a move so calculated that by the time they realize what happened, the game is already over. Let me give you a powerful example. Imagine you are in a negotiation with a manipulative person. They want control over a project. You know that if you fight them directly, it will become a public battle that drains your energy. So instead, you let them have control. You step back. You say, "You are right, you should lead this." They feel victorious, but here is what they do not know. You have already documented every risk, every potential failure point in that project. You have quietly informed the right people of those risks. And when the project inevitably encounters problems, you are not the one responsible. They are. You did not sabotage them. You simply allowed their incompetence to reveal itself. And when leadership looks for someone to fix the mess, you are the calm, competent alternative. You did not fight for power. You let them destroy themselves and then stepped into the vacuum they created. This is not cruelty. This is strategy. You allowed reality to do the work for you. The toxic person's arrogance became their downfall. and you, by appearing to lose, actually won everything. This tactic works in personal dynamics as well, and perhaps even more powerfully than in any other arena of human interaction. If someone is trying to control your decisions, manipulate your choices, or steer you in a direction that serves their agenda rather than your highest good, let them think they have succeeded. Give them the satisfaction of believing their influence has worked. Agree superficially, nodding along with their suggestions, appearing to accept their guidance and direction. Then quietly, without announcement or declaration, do what you intended all along. Continue on your true path with silent determination. They will believe they have power over you, that their words shaped your actions, that you bent to their will. But in truth, you have simply removed yourself from their sphere of influence while maintaining the appearance of compliance. You have created a strategic illusion that protects your autonomy. You are not lying in the conventional sense. You are managing perception with precision and intentionality. You are creating a buffer zone between their expectations and your reality. And in a world where perception is reality, where what people believe to be true becomes their truth, managing perception is the highest form of power. It is the difference between being controlled and being free while appearing controlled. It is the art of moving through the world untouched by those who seek to touch you. So now you have the 7 rules, the complete framework for navigating toxic dynamics with wisdom and strategic awareness. Never reveal your emotions, keeping your inner world private and protected. Study their patterns, becoming a silent observer of their predictable cycles. Use their ego as a leash, understanding that pride is the easiest vulnerability to exploit. Control the narrative, shaping the story before someone else writes it for you. Withdraw your presence, making your attention valuable through scarcity. Isolate their allies, weakening their support system through subtle strategic moves. And make them believe they won while you position for the real victory, the one that matters in the long term. These are not tricks designed to deceive for petty gain. These are principles, timeless laws of human interaction. Principles that have governed power for centuries, across cultures and civilizations. Machiavelli did not invent manipulation or create these dynamics out of thin air. He simply had the courage to describe it honestly, to pull back the curtain on what everyone experiences but few dare to name. And you now have that same knowledge, that same clarity of vision. But knowledge without action is worthless, nothing more than intellectual entertainment. Information that sits unused in your mind serves no purpose in transforming your reality. So here is what you must do next, the bridge between understanding and transformation. Choose one toxic person in your life, just one. Do not try to overhaul every relationship simultaneously. And apply these rules systematically, with patience and precision. Do not try to use all 7 at once, which would scatter your energy and dilute your effectiveness. Start with one rule, perhaps the one that resonates most strongly with your current situation. Master it through consistent practice. Then move to the next, building your skill set layer by layer. Watch what happens as you begin to implement these principles. You will notice a shift, a fundamental change in the energy between you and this person. Not in them necessarily, because toxic people rarely change their core patterns, but in you. You will stop feeling powerless, no longer at the mercy of their moods and manipulations. You will stop being surprised by their behavior, because you will have learned to predict their moves before they make them. You will start to see the game clearly, as if a fog has lifted, and you can suddenly perceive the entire chessboard. And once you see the game, once you recognize the patterns and rules that govern these interactions, you can play it better than anyone who still pretends the game does not exist. Those who deny the reality of power dynamics are always at a disadvantage against those who acknowledge and work with that reality. The world is not fair, and this is not a pessimistic statement but a liberating truth. It never has been fair throughout all of human history. It rewards those who understand power, who respect its laws and learn to navigate its currents, not those who wish power did not matter or hope that good intentions alone will protect them. Toxic people will always exist in this world. They are a constant in human society, appearing in every generation and every culture. But they only have power over you if you remain naive, if you continue to approach them with assumptions of goodness that they do not share. And you are no longer naive after receiving this knowledge. You are awake to the reality of human nature in all its complexity. You are strategic in your approach to difficult people. You are dangerous in the most elegant way possible, not through aggression or cruelty. Dangerous not because you harm others or seek to cause pain, but because you can no longer be harmed by those who once had easy access to your peace of mind. You have become untouchable while remaining fully engaged with life, protected while staying open, strategic while maintaining your integrity. Machiavelli's greatest lesson was this: the world belongs to those who see it as it is and act accordingly, not with bitterness, not with cruelty, but with clarity and precision. You do not need to announce your power. You do not need to prove you are smart. You simply need to move through the world with the quiet confidence of someone who knows the rules. And now you do. So the next time a toxic person tries to manipulate you, remember this: you are not their victim. You are their strategist. You are not reacting to their game. You are playing a different one entirely, a game they do not even know exists. And by the time they realize you were never the person they thought you were, you will already be 10 steps ahead, untouchable, unbothered, and completely in control. That is the Machiavellian mindset. That is how you win.